Welcome everyone to our Craft Talk and Conversations. I'm here with Mia and I realize I'm mispronouncing your last name. Do you want to say it for us?
Hi friends, my name is Mia Botha.
Botha. I was
Yes,
pronouncing the TH, so that's
you're
where my
welcome to do that. I mean, it's a very Afrikaans surname, so in English the th would make more sense.
Well, I'm so glad
um,
you're here, Mia, and I wonder if you could introduce yourself and tell everyone, who you are and what you're doing here.
what I'm doing here, I wonder if anyone has the answer. No, actually, I'm very excited. Thank you, Tracy, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Mia. I am, like Tracy, a writing teacher and a writing enthusiast, and I just love sharing writing and writing advice and just how to get the words on the page with everyone. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah,
I host a series of writing challenges. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm a little bit more aggressive than Tracy with with the getting stuff done, where I have a whole website dedicated to deadlines. So that's what we do with deadlines for writers.
awesome. And I love, well, first of all, Mia was part of the Write from the Heart event that we did in June. I can't remember what time of year is this. And and one of the things I love, because I personally love writing prompts as well, and I loved how you spoke to how writing prompts can help you finish your book. And I wondered if you could
Mm.
speak to that just a little bit here and what value you, because I think prompts are invaluable, really. So what for you are the different ways that you can use writing prompts and how to
Mhm.
get them to serve your story, essentially.
Yeah. So besides deadlines, we use a lot of prompts on our website. Okay. So we write short stories with prompts, we write poems with prompts, and we do novel writing with prompts. And that's kind of something where I get quite a bit of kickback from the writers. But if I've plotted a story and I've planned my story, how do I use prompts within that? Okay, so the prompts are always optional, but I always say the prompts add the magic. So I have an idea for my scene in my head, and I think this is what the scene's going to be like or be about. And then I don't know about you, but for me, there's that moment where I'm like, it happened. And it's just that kick or that twist that happens in a scene. And that's quite often when I start adding the prompt. So I've got plan A, this is it, this is what I want to do. And then that prompt is just that little bit of the unknown that just I throw in there and it just does something for my story. It has introduced subplots for me. It has just given me a bit of that depth of character, which perhaps I wouldn't have thought about if I had, I mean, one of the things, what was that scene? I think I had to write about mud. And then that was the prompt, it was mud. And then, okay, what am I going to write about mud? And we're going with mud and we're going with mud. And I ended up on a memory about my mother, and which ended up wondering about the relationship my character has with their mother. And it unlocked a whole part of that character, which I don't think would have been there without the prompt. And that's what prompts really do for me. My journey with prompts, I kind of wouldn't, sorry, do you want to say something?
Oh, well, I just love that word unlocked, and I really think that's so true. I have a regular my friend Julie, Paul, and I, we call it Vitamin practice, and so it's not like a hardcore prompt, but we send each other words that we have to include
Mm.
in the writing that we share, and so these sometimes it's easy to fit them in, and sometimes you really have to like
Mm.
figure out how to do it, and they're so many times have unlocked
Yeah,
stories or sent them in a direction I would not have chosen on my with my
yeah,
conscious mind.
yeah. No, that yeah, subconscious was exactly the word I was thinking of when you were talking. So no, beautiful things just happen with those prompts, and time and again they've surprised me. Every time I think, oh, there's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, you know, when you sit down and this like little
Yes.
cursor blinks, and you're like, ugh, and then the prompt just does that thing again where it's just beautiful. So when you said we want to talk about prompts, I kind of had to think back a little bit to my own prompt journey, because something that still surprises me is, speaking about writers and sometimes quite seasoned writers who don't use prompts. And I'm always like a little bit surprised, like, because for me, the worst thing you can tell me is write about anything. I'm like, no, don't say anything. Make it hard for me. And then that's when I get excited. So I started thinking, and I had to, a friend of mine gifted this book to me. It's a writer's book of days by Judy Reeves. And I mean, I love her stuff. She is just awesome and amazing. And what she has at the bottom of her pages, she has these little prompts. And that's where I learned the power of prompts the first time. And because so what she does is she gives you like January 12th, write about this. So like today I would look up November 30th and whatever the prompt is. And I was trying to figure out like what have I done with this stuff, all of this stuff. And I actually noticed that I first received this book in 2013. And I mean, next year, that's 10 years ago that I've been writing with prompts. And you asked about how you can use prompts. Now, I'm very flexible with these things. You have to be disciplined and flexible. I think that's the hard part about writing.
Yes.
So the first thing to use a prompt with is free writing. So just sit down and see where it takes you. But I've also learned to use my prompts for intentional practice. So that is where I've spoken about it before, where I tend to neglect my settings, and I have wanted to work really hard to improve my settings. So just every day I would look at my prompt and I would write at the top of my page setting, just as a reminder to myself. And then over the months and weeks that I've done that, and I'd say, okay, this week I want to work on dialogue, and I would add dialogue, and then, or just write dialogue. And that would just be a prompt for me, a second prompt, to remind me of this is what we want to work on. And then when I finally get to my manuscript, because I do believe prompts are like, that's the gym, it's where we get fit and we get strong. And then the manuscript is like the real stuff, where we have to put our best foot forward. And that's really just, it was two of the ways. So one's very loose and the other one is a bit more structured, I think.
I love that. I'm thinking of, two things, but one is like, the structure of a plant, like a grass that grows up, or even a tree, maybe a better image, where there's a containment, and then there's also a flexibility and movement.
Yep.
So that's the image that came. But also this idea, and I think it's so true, and it's definitely something I encourage my students to do, is like, and I love how you say, just put setting, use the prompt and refer back to setting, that anything that you struggle with as a writer, you can improve on with using prompts. Like if you have a hard time describing things, I say, just like every morning, describe what is around you, just to get into the practice of it and strengthen that muscle.
It is. I was working with something else again this month. This month it was, weirdly enough, James Clear's Atomic Habits. And I always very nobly, look at these books, and I'm going to, read them and do all of these things. And I did read Atomic Habits. They were very interesting. And there were a few very interesting points, but he told the most beautiful story. One of the examples is, because he speaks a lot about repetition, and he says it doesn't matter how much time you spend on something, it has to do with the number of repetitions you fit into that time. And he spoke about, it was a photography professor, and he divided his class into two. And for the one half, he said they'd be graded on the number of photographs they submitted. So however many photographs, it was 10,500, whatever, they'd be graded on the number. And the second half of the class would be graded on only one photograph, but it had to be a perfect photograph. And he said, come at the end of the year, the one half submitted one photograph and the other half submitted all their photographs. And he said time and again, when they had to look at who submitted the best photographs, it was the students who had produced the quantity work as opposed to just pursuing that single perfect image. And that just again brought prompts home for me, because I mean, if you write a little bit every day, or you don't have to write every day, as long as you have a regular routine, I'm happy with that. So if you just regularly use your prompts, every day you get a bit stronger, you get a bit faster. I had a student in a writing session say the other day, she started in July with the July group that started, and now obviously it's November. And she says every Sunday we write for 60 minutes. And she said she started, it was 300 words, 400 words, and she really struggled to stay in her seat for an hour. And now she says she's doing it. She's almost hitting 1,000 words every week. And it's just that repetition and that showing up to the page, and your prompt is there, it's waiting for you. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yes, me too. I love it too. And I actually find sometimes there's so much juice in a prompt. It just like, I've been using them for decades too. And even when I'm writing when I'm writing a story and working on a
Mm,
story, I'll like create the prompt for the next day out of what I've written. And
mm,
um, just and I try to be loose. And because I feel like if I don't have them, if I don't have parameters, and sometimes it comes in form, which I feel is another kind of prompt. Like the
mhm,
parameters are so great because otherwise I end up just like this like swamp. The water just like goes all
mhm,
over the place. And so prompts, I think, are really lovely small containers too for our
mhm,
story. And we can then, I there's a book called 4 a.m. or 3 p.m. 3 a.m. Epiphanies. Have you heard of that? It's like
mm-mm, no.
full of prompts. I don't love all the prompts, but I love what he says. He says like your writing when you do that, it becomes like Lego bricks. So
Mm,
you have this big container full of your hard drive or whatever, Lego bricks. And so then what can you build out of these
mm,
Lego bricks? So the idea that nothing is even in our practice, it becomes a Lego brick and it might help build the structure for a piece of flash fiction,
mm.
a novel, whatever,
Yeah. No,
So,
and it's like they become these little perfect places for your ideas to go. Like kind of you have an idea, it's not necessarily a full story yet, it's not this, but it just holds it for you. That's what I love about it.
mhm.
It just
Yes.
you said something I always smile about is I don't always like the prompt. And that was something I had to teach myself to do because I would look at the prompt and go, oh no, no, don't like this. And then I'd
Hmm.
start looking for a different prompt. And then,
Yes.
45 minutes later, I'm still on Pinterest looking for the perfect prompt instead of, I mean, I could have been writing for 45 minutes. And that's where I actually had to teach myself, where usually when I have like a visceral reaction to a prompt, like hell no, that's usually when the juicy stuff comes out, and I know
Yeah.
I'm like, this is barriers are going up, I'm protecting. And the opposite happens with when I'm excited about prompt. Oh, that's a cool prompt. I tend to find my story like goes a bit blah, and then it's like because it doesn't really make me work because I get so excited. Whereas if I'm not so crazy about the prompt, I think like writing wise, I get better work. So, but yeah, that was something I had to learn to trust. It took a long time for me to embrace the I don't like this prompt.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah, don't bail on the prompts. I sometimes do have about three different sets of prompts, so if I really don't want to do this one, I
Mm.
may just take a different one, but there is method to the madness. So
Do you have a fallback prompt, like one that you off if you that you just return to over and over again?
that's an interesting question. um no, but if I had to say there was something I returned to every time, it's not a prompt, but it's dialogue. If I
Hmm.
get stuck, that's the one thing that saves me every time, is whether it's a short story, whether it's a poem or anything. The minute I make someone talk, it's things happen. It's usually when I'm trying to get myself, like I said, when I don't enjoy the setting and the descriptions too much. And that's usually when I start getting stuck. So I've learned that instead of writing the descriptions or the settings, I can make my characters talk about them.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's so great
So
to have those fallback
no,
cushions,
my little,
Well, also,
yeah.
I have a couple and it's like there's no excuse. Like you're
Mm,
at the page, you're sitting at the page and I can't think of what to write isn't an excuse. You are like, okay, I don't even have a prompt, but I know that if I use I'll write, I
mm,
know dialogue or
mm,
I write about what happened yesterday in the third person. That's my go-to.
mm. Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. It's taught me a lot. Anyway, I think
Writing
it's
that down.
yeah. Well, I made a. I'll make a little YouTube video about that one too for you.
Hmm.
Um,
Cool.
so Mia, you have some really cool resources for folks. And one of the things we talked about was 52 scenes in 52 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a course coming up. And maybe you could tell everyone how it works. And then we'll put links in the comments so that people can get on the newsletter to the free course so that they can learn
Yeah.
about the 52 scenes, because I think it's a really awesome idea. So I'd love
Yeah.
for you to share it.
So yeah, it's a bit of a different way to write a novel. Those of you who've done Nano, if you won this month, congratulations. Okay. I jokingly call 52 scenes in 52 weeks Nano for sloths, because we do what you do in 30 days over a year. So the challenge is to write a scene a week, and those scenes at the end of the year become part of a novel. And on Deadlines for Writers, we have 3 core pillars that we work with. So we have deadlines, we have prompts, and we have community. So you buddy up with some writers, and you guys all work together through your stories. And every week, you encourage each other, and you talk about it. And we use prompts, and we write our scenes, and then we end up with a book at the end of the year. It's an awesome process. Those were the writing sessions I was talking about earlier. We meet once a week, and then you can write together. That's actually where Atomic Habits came in. Was I kind of read the book and I realized, oh, look, we inadvertently followed his steps. So yeah, we give you a prompt, you visit the writing session, you write your scene, you post on the day of the deadline, and then you give and receive feedback. So it's lots of fun. You won't, I always say, you don't get your first back. You won't. They may not be your first fans, but they'll definitely be your biggest fans. That's what I'm trying to say. So
Awesome.
no, we have lots of fun. Yeah, and we just everything is writing challenges and deadline driven, because I don't know if it comes from advertising or the reason why advertising worked for me, but I used to make ads, and if there's no deadline, I'm a very relaxed person. So
Yeah.
I need a specific date.
This is great for people who need accountability or feel like they're procrastinators and need that. Well, I guess accountability is for that, but need the
Yeah.
deadlines, need a little fire
Mm-hmm.
under their
Yeah.
practice to get the
Yeah.
novel going.
If you don't enjoy deadlines for writers is not for you. But if you thrive on deadlines, you'll be very happy. Okay. So even if you write it on Wednesday, which is always deadline day, that's also fine, as long as it goes up. And it's just about breaking that big process down into small steps.
Yes.
I sometimes think, we get so busy, and everything always happens all at once. And my creative work just time and again takes the back seat for some other reason. I always get the blog posts out and the newsletters out, and everyone's where they're supposed to be, and the kids are sorted, and somehow my creative work always lags. So that's what this challenge was about, was just making some space for myself. And yeah, this is going to be our 3rd year. It's our 4th group in our 3rd year. So we're very excited.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you are curious about Mia's work and need some deadlines and accountability, you can sign up for what do you want to talk about a minute about the free class that you have available, and then
so if you want to learn more, there is a literal learn more page, but you can also join us for the free class. So there's a class on the 5th of December, and we've got 2 classes on the 13th of December. And it's just where I break down our process and I explain how it works, and very quickly go through a basic novel structure, so that if you have these little core scenes, you're going to get started. And if you think fast and you just have an open mind, you'll hopefully have a little skeleton or an idea for a story by the time you're done. And then or bring your nano novel. That's a great thing to bring. People come and untangle the little nano mess they built in 30 days.
So great.
They come and untangle it during 52 scenes.
I think I'm definitely a nano for sloth. I could not do nano. It would be just too.
It's intense.
I don't think I could do it. It's not my speed. I'm too methodical and slow, and
Well, I tend to underwrite, so I might be able to do a scene a week, but I'll never hit the 50,000 in 30 days. I mean, it's just I my word, I just don't have that many words. I have to work for a long time to build up those words.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
yeah,
yeah, it's
no,
wild.
but it's a wonderful initiative. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us today, Mia. And
it's
you'll
such a
drop,
pleasure.
yeah, it's always so good. And oh, I feel like it's so wild. We're really literally halfway around the world from each other. So it's so cool to be able to come together in this way,
Oh,
and share this love of prompts and this love of helping writers. So thank you so much,
yeah.
Mia.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.